Hey everyone, welcome in. Betsperts Golf here for a little bit of John Deere Classic. Little Midwest golf continuing. Andy looking very, very festive today. Starting the 4th of July vacation a little bit earlier. What's going on? It's looking good.
Yeah, I did. I had something to do in the Twin Cities last night afternoon, we'll say, and had to bring the kid with. So I started drinking on the weeknights just to get ready for the 4th of July. So
Good.
the Top Golf is a long way from my house. It's not a long way from where we had to go yesterday. So do you want to go to Top Golf for like a couple hours? I never get a chance to do that on like a Monday. Monday's like half price. It's like $40 for 90 minutes. Basically paying you to hit golf balls at Sonic the Hedgehog. So did some Top Golf, did some drinks, and getting the liver in shape for this weekend. And yes, I'll probably watch some golf Friday. Hang out inside once it gets too hot in the afternoon. Post morning grilling, but pre-afternoon, evening fireworks / parade. So
Nice.
It is the countdown to heading back to Europe here is nigh. We have a big one next week and then a really big one in 2 weeks. This gets shat on a little, but I don't know. I'm in a good mood. I had a winner last week.
Love to see it. Love to see it. I took the family to Top Golf this weekend as well. We don't go often. It's actually pretty close to us, but my 4-year-old can like just bang balls for literally hours. Like he easily 2-1 anyone on actual volume on Sunday. So hey, good time to get out there and hit some balls. I'm gonna hopefully not watch a lot of this. I'll be hopefully golfing a lot myself this weekend. So but I like this one. I mean, look, I don't want to like poo-poo the 3M. I know that's your neck of the woods and that's your guy. And then Ron last week, boots in the ground in Detroit. You know, it was kind of the Midwest Classic here, even though obviously, as you mentioned, the overseas stuff in Europe breaks up the monotony of it. But I think there's, just in terms of actual golf courses, there's a little bit more personality to TBC or Deer Run than the others. You at least have water. I mean, Detroit is.
I was gonna say, yeah, the only positive for the 3M Open is like there's a lot of water danger.
Sure.
Like you can't just grip it and rip it if you're a little bit sprayy, because you're gonna end up with a full stroke penalty. You're gonna be in the water on like, I think there's maybe 11 holes that have water danger at some point.
Sounds right.
The Rocket does have some deeper rough and some areas of bother like that, but that wasn't what it was. Cracked. We may see a tougher Rocket next year after the refurbish.
Sure.
But I mean, it was still, what was the 22 was the playoff?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, still played pretty easy. This isn't a bad course though.
No. And the public track.
Greens are massive. That's the real bummer is like seeing you guys try to hit these greens. And like, even if you miss in the right direction, it's just like, well, he has an 89-foot putt from there, but he's on the green.
Yeah. Outlier a little bit last year because we have seen historically I think it's 15 straight years. The winner here has been at least 18 under. Interesting. Last year we kind of got loose where we had Davis Thompson at 28, a bunch of guys right behind at 24. Typically don't spend that much time up in like the upper 20s, but interested to see if that's a one-off or if that's just a strategic change. Ron and I kind of went through the course database and key stats yesterday on the Monday show to kind of try to get a sense of like, were guys strategically playing it differently? Sometimes you'll see like a 1-year outlier in the key stats because of, maybe it's a field change or it was a, signature event 1 year and the field was stronger. And it's not really the case with this, especially with the way that things have moved. This used to be the lead in to the Open Championship. Now that we've co-sanctioned the Scottish, this is kind of in a weird spot. It's 2 weeks out from the Open Championship instead of just the 1 week out. So it's nothing field related. Either way, you're probably at least kind of in the same spot from a winning score as you were last week, even though we have a par 71, we have fewer par fives to kind of make your hay on. Again, birdies are the way. I don't think you can grip it and rip it here as much as I think you can the other two spots. To your point, maybe not as easily in Minnesota, but there are some dog legs. The rough here can be a little bit more penal, definitely more penal than Detroit, where we've seen missed fairway penalties, not a lot of hazards per se, but still greens and reg through the roof, good drive percentage through the roof. It is just who performs best on wheat golf courses, who's in form. I mean, really kind of boiling it down simply to those two things for me this week in terms of how I handicap the week.
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar-ish to last week. Like, you don't want to deviate too far, but like you said, I struggle with where I'm at on driving. If it's, distance heavy, accuracy heavy. Like you said, there's some dog legs. The roughs are a little tough. The rough is a little tough, but it's still pretty wide fairways. I mean, there's some spots there's some spots, there's a few spots pushing 40. It's like, how if you're missing this, maybe it just wasn't your week anyway. So I did have a model I built last year, and I mean, it kind of checks out with basically everything we've already said. So I'm likely going to build another one just to update a few things. But I mean, it went driving accuracy. It went good drive percentage. It went overall proximity on easy greens and reg, which is definitely this course for sure. So, if you're playing a course where everybody's hitting the greens, like I'd set the filter to greens and reg easy, because that's what we're going to have here. Who's getting closer? Who's actually, finding some makeable birdie putts? And then I did some basically chipping, wedge stuff. I went fairway 100 to 125 and 125 to 150. Birdies are better, which, like we talked about, Birdie Fest. I did leave that greens and reg easy filter on for all these, and then
the right way to do it, I think.
I went bent POA plus bent for putting. I used both, kind of just all your pure greens, a little bit of putting in here, because while it's worth the context of looking into guys and seeing who has that spike putting ability.
Sure.
I wouldn't mind somebody who can putt well, because there's a few guys where it's like, hey, this is a fun name. Well, yeah, but he's putting like his eyes are closed right now. And
Joe Highsmith.
Or Howie Morikawa, who's not.
No, did you see? So actually, Joe Highsmith was the no laying up guys who were talking to him through, I think, their pro-am that they played or whatnot. And like, you're talking about his putting process, and he actually likes to putt with his eyes closed. He said that the biggest putts of his life he's done with his eyes closed, which is absolutely insane to me, to be actually an above average putter and you do most of it just not even looking at the hole. Okay. It's insane. But I get your point. Like, that's, we spend a lot of time. I don't think I would say maybe 50% of the time we probably put a putting element into a model. You're relying more on some of the stickier stats like ball striking and some of the, overarching performance stuff based off of how the course is going to play. But in a spot like this where 22, 24 under is in play, man, it's just really hard to sell yourself that, Rico Hoey or someone like that in that ilk, which he's a fantastic ball striker, but you gotta bury a bunch here. Right. So, even Davis Thompson, which is weird. Your defending champ who ran so hot has been a horrendous putter as of late. Again, more of it the same last week too. Ball striking was great. Putter was ice cold. There's a lot in his profile that would lead you to think, he's going to flip it. But I mean, the baseline is actually starting to get pretty poor, right? So you can look at these guys that aren't putting well, but you got to start to, look at where he is on his baseline, and baseline is getting a lot worse. So yeah, you got to run hot with the flat stick. I think it should be in the model, whether it's the putting splits on the surface, par 4 scoring, because again, we only have the 3 par 5s here. So some sort of combination of those things I think are super duper important this week. So
you want to take any cracks at just the stats I listed? So a lot of, it was a lot of driving accuracy. It was a lot of proximity and wedges, scoring, putting on the surface. Any wagers? How many of my top 10 can you get with however many guesses you want to take? There's nobody crazy. It's not, there's not like some rando here.
Yeah. I mean, Ben Griffith's in your top 5 or your top 10.
He's not.
He's not in your top 10. Okay.
No.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I remember going through, I looked a little bit at, I think those proximity ranges didn't suit him very well, which I thought was interesting. So, Thorbjorn Olsen? No. Okay. Kevin Roy.
Kevin Roy is no. He's actually in the teens. You're close. You're getting closer here.
Because he was in I think he's like second in my model, which doesn't have those proximities, but has some of those things. So, Kevin Yu.
Another one. Just a shade down.
Okay.
Actually, he's pretty low. His driving accuracy is pretty rough.
Postman.
JT Poston? No, you haven't got to say he's 24th. I'm probably betting him just as the favorite. I don't care.
Okay. Lucas Glover.
Oh, I want you to get one. Lucas Glover. No. 33rd.
Holy cow.
We're gonna go until you get one.
This is amazing. Grillo?
Oh, another really close one. He's not that far down.
Okay. Echeverria?
Oh, I don't even know where he would be falling. He's 12th. Oh, you were so close.
I
might count that. I'm gonna give you two more guesses, and then we'll count Echeverria because I might want to take out Takumi Kanaya.
All right, Doug Gim.
No, Doug Kim. Another one I'm betting. I'm probably going to bet him.
I'm not even listing guys that I'm betting. It's just Joel Damon.
Joel, no. Carson Young, number 1. Andy Putz, number 2. Andrew Putnam.
All right,
Wilson's great with the wedges. Good accuracy. Good ball striker. McGreevy, McCarty, Sung Jae. Didn't give any of the big names.
Terrible.
I know, but
we looked yesterday and I could not believe he's gained strokes on approach 3 times this year. He plays all the time. And like when he's losing on approach a lot.
This is what we talk about. You know, this is about a year's worth of data. And
Sneds, I would not have got Sneds or Chesson Hadley. I would have been here for a while. Trying to get
Camp
Sneds.
Champ though. I thought we might get a Camp Champ guess.
Yeah,
it can't be a shitty event without one of the cams being in the mix. So,
sure,
Cam Champ, I did kind of look at him. Former, I think, is that the one who won the 3M? I keep mixing up the bad cams.
Yeah,
so semi, correlated track there, but yeah, probably not betting Chandler Phillips or Brant Snedeker. And like you said, Sung JM at price, especially. It's one of those where you got to dig in a little, throw some context to this guy. You can't bet Sung JM here. At this price, at the form he's throwing out there right now, it doesn't matter what the year-long stats say for a guy like that.
The year-long stats say he's been awful. Here's 12 months of approach. He's losing a half stroke per round on approach. There's really not. I mean, I wouldn't say a wedge fest, but we're spending most of our time in these buckets here this week, so this is not great. And look at this. This is just, I know he hasn't been playing well, but this like really caught me off guard.
And I do wonder what the sample size for him is on some of these, because a lot of my model is based on places where greens and reg is easy.
Sure.
And
that's the thing in terms of like the upper echelon guys, he plays all those tracks more than, the other guys. When you look at some of these easier samples, it's hard because you're like, oh, Jason Day doesn't come here, or Ben Griffin does, right? So he's, kind of changing into where he's going, but he still will grind and play, a little bit of everything. But I mean, look at this run. Sanjay has not gained strokes on approach since the COG. First week of March. It's brutal.
Florida swing. It's been a while.
Brutal stretch of approach. And he's playing all the time. I mean, yeah, so it's a rough run for Sanjay. I knew it wasn't great. It's not been in consideration for me all year. I'm typically not a Sanjay guy anyway, but man, let's get him back to the swing.
And that's the thing. Like, the swing and into the first start of the season, it wasn't terrible.
Oh, third of the century.
It went south in a hurry after he left Florida or California.
Yes, I don't know what happened to Farmers. He lost it and has never come back. It's crazy. Hard game. Yeah. So yeah, this is an interesting top of the board from a modeling standpoint, but it's just kind of the week to do it, right? I mean, I think we know it's a better John Deere field than normal, but not a great field. So, you should be looking to model in ways that kind of bring out some guys that don't make sense. I was on Matt McCarty last week, was definitely in the mix a little bit. Putter did so much of the work, but that's okay. It's kind of, we already deemed that that's what we need here, right? So for him to have another nice week would not be super surprising, but I was not expecting a Paul Peterson, Brent Snedeker, Chandler Phillips, Chesson Hadley rounding out the back end. So
yeah, and that's where I'm going to probably build another model, and it's going to be granular like this. It's not going to be, I think if you build a model based on form and skill, it's going to look close to the leaderboard. That is not what this is. Sure. This is, if you get real granular and you use different samples like this, it's going to deviate quite a bit. And you're going to have guys in the 6,000 and 7,000 near the top. It depends what direction you want to go there. And on a week like this, I usually choose the latter. My second model will be similar to that, where I'm not probably going to have Ben Griffin near the top of my leaderboard. I'm looking for guys who do specific things. Yeah, he might be, honestly. If I look at a little bit of recent form too, which I'm going to have to throw in there, he's going to be up there. But I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to start looking at spike putting. I'm going to start looking at spike wedge game. I'm going to try to find guys who've gained a lot on approach and guys who've gained a lot putting and have done it, here and there, and maybe have done it here and there on some easy tracks. Find some guys that can, down the board, make some runs here, because, man, this is not only a place where anybody can win. You end up with a lot of first-time winners here. You end up with, it's going to be a leaderboard similar to last week, where it's like, hey, we're going into Sunday and there's 39 guys within 5 shots of the lead. And we've seen it more here than the other Midwest swing stops. We've had several winners that were, T12, T15 going into Sunday, and we're able to take this thing. So just looking for some guys that can keep pace and get after it. I'd see you've pulled up the floor ceiling filter on the rabbit hole right now to take a look at who has been able to spike putt. What filters do we have on? Anything?
I don't have any yet. I'm just looking at 2025 so far. Some small sample for guys. Yeah. All right. So, gaining 2 or more, right? So real spike putting. Trace Crow, bomb and putt. Chesson Hadley, I think, finished really well here last year, actually. All right. Preston Summerhays, some real, young kid, up and coming, small sample. Brendan Matthews, another bomb and putt guy. Denny, which we would expect to see in a worthwhile sample in terms of rounds played, right? So some of these guys are these are rounds. So this is all real small for these guys. Another, young up and comer, Jackson Coyven. Let's see what he can do here. Yeah, Frankie said this is another, it's a bunch of bomb and putt guys here. This is, though it's not necessarily what we want to get away with here, but let's kind of pull some.
Cam Champ, though. Cam Champ is suddenly more interesting again. He's putting come up numerous times now.
Putting has been good. All right, so if we go 20 rounds, it's again not starts, just actually, rounds played. Here's Cam Champ, Danny Willett, Sam Ryder, Putnam, who I think popped well for you, Jacob Bridgman, Pearson Cootie getting a ton of love on the odds board, which is stunning to me. But Valimaki, Thornberry, Cummings, there's Olson, Echeverria, there's Frankie again. Oh, that's actually just searched by gaining it all. Denny at the top when you're looking at 2 or more. So, which I like. I bet Denny 28. Not super exciting, but last 3 years here, T6, T6, T7. Seems to like it, seems to roll it well, is playing significantly better than those years. So I was in on Denny and thought he was going to be significantly shorter, to be honest, in this field. But yeah, he's not a guy that's, another breakout guy, right? He's not got that first win. So this is a spot where you can do it if he goes full Denny. Because look, this is where we start to separate, when you can get into the gaining 3 or more strokes putting when the field is just kind of treading water. That's nice. Do you want to look through any filtering?
Yeah, I think there's some names up to like. It's very hard to bet Ben Griffin. Love him to death. He's the best player here. It's hard to bet a Ben Griffin type at 1250.
Yeah,
in a full field event. Despite it, also, you do got to make some choices if you want one of those bigger names: the McCarthy, the Days, the Poston, Davis Thompson, Thor Bjornsson, the guys up in that range. I'm dancing around Poston. I'm thinking about it. There's still 35 out there, but 38 on Chris Kirk, despite some foibles.
mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to bet Chris Kirk. Obviously, I liked what I saw last week, and it's just another course where he's gonna match up well.
All right, putting. I put some surface splits on it. Kind of getting, like you said, some of the pure putts. We're looking at last 50 rounds on these surfaces. Try to get a comparable sample size. Pearson Coody, again, sitting very high in the odds board. Jacob Bridgman. There's Denny again. Jake Knapp, who, goodness gracious, just absolutely frustrating. I vented yesterday. Just
he should have been in the playoff. Yeah.
Oh, the number of putts on Sunday where he left short is just absolutely stunning. This champ again, Poston, Brian Campbell, McCarty, some names that are down there. There's Echeverria again, Jay Day. So we get into like 3 actual like real spike putting performances. Highsmith, it's interesting. Del Solar, Ryan Palmer, Coody again, Bridgman, Matt McCarty. Okay, so let's see why we've seen some of these names on people's betting slips so far this week. Cam Champ, it's just baseline putting guys too. It's just good to see like who is just strokes gained positive more often too, right? This is Coody Putnam Day, Poston, Isasune, which is interesting. I really wanted to bet him this week. I thought he was going to be interesting. Recent form was worse than I had expected. Kind of want to lean on form a little bit here. Perez, McCarty again, Chad Ramey.
So Perez is on my list of guys. Okay. Based on, some things we've seen the last few weeks, even at better events, but he's one that he ranked high in the model for, just good drive percentage. He was a scorer. And again, good putter. He's a good enough putter where I like a name like that here. So Vic Perez is a pretty decent price. I want to say what I had on him. At 90, you can get.
It's a good price.
It's probably just a little too big for him. So
yeah,
Vic Perez at 90 is on the card.
Okay.
It's just gonna be another gross 8 deep, triple digit. Find some guys.
Yeah. Hey, worked out pretty well last week. You got over the line. I had 2 guys missed the playoff by a shot, so it was not the wrong approach. That's for sure. One other guy,
just not bet any of the guy. I should have just only bet Potgieter.
Well,
paid out so much better.
It was paid so much more. One guy who is on this page on this sheet right now, painted green across the board, who actually led the field in strokes gained tee to green on Sunday at Rocket, who is a fantastic putter. That's why he's on the sheet, but he actually lost strokes putting on Sunday, which is weird. If he would have gained strokes putting or had any type of normal putting performance, he also would have found himself in the playoff. He finished 2 shots off the lead, and that is Nico Echeverria, who I bet at 60-1. Like, kind of just hot and cold. When you kind of look at his ledger of finishes, he like just pops together some really nice finishes, and then he's kind of gone for a while, and then he'll pop back. So I'm hoping that we found something in Detroit, and he can kind of continue to roll it well here this week, and maybe bring some of the ball striking along with him. So Echeverria is. I only got 4 guys in the card. He's actually my longest at 60 this week, because I'm kind of swimming in the middle there. So I like him quite a bit, and I thought 60 was a pretty fair number. So just need that putting. See that putting spike. And you see here, you look at 3 or more, he's still on this page, right? He's agreeing across the board. So he's gaining. He has the ability to spike for sure. So I like him.
I always let you talk me into one, and he was a guy that, again, the driving accuracy, overall proximity numbers, and his putting and birdie or better rate was something that spiked for him as well too. So
he's fourth in my overall model, which I was very surprised. So that's why I have to do some more digging.
12th in mine, and again, if I'm going to be looking for guys who can spike putt, I think he's the guy. I got 63.50 on Bookmaker right now. So
nice.
Adding him to the card. The card is getting full. Dan's card's already 5 deep. I'm gonna cap it at 8.
Hard to go back to a guy that was 100-1 last week and almost got there for you, and then go back to him at 35-1. But no shot. I'm missing my guy Michael Thor Bjornsson in case he gets over the hump here. T2 last year, obviously just missed the playoff last week, and gosh, a couple of putts at the turn. He very much should have been in the mix there as well. It's just, these are, like you said at the beginning, this is a spot where you get some breakouts, right? Some guys that kind of come out, they get that first career win. This is a 19-year-old Jordan Spieth won, the John Deere Classic.
Yeah.
Got young Bryson winning here. So I'm in on Thor.
I thought I found him at 60-1. Turns out it's a different person.
Yes.
It's a Thor Bruno.
Okay.
I'm like, oh no. It was like one of those for like 2 seconds. I'm like, oh baby, that's a good number. Nope, that's a different guy.
Could have Thornberry or Thornbjorn Olsen. So yeah. Not there. And the last one for me is Michael Kim. Like you see, Michael Kim is 8th in my model. Ron pointed out the really weird course history here. He won in 2018. He's missed the last 4 cuts.
Huge underdog. Like massive number when he won.
Oh yeah.
I bet him last week. He's another one where I've loved him this year. He's played some of the best golf he's ever played, but he's not going to win, the Masters. He's not going to win a big event. I don't know that his ceiling is that high. Can win here though. And his number is what, 50-ish, 45?
I got a 50. Yeah. Yes. So this year, if you look at 9 months, he's on top, but here, this is strokes gained total, easy golf courses, right? So just easy scoring last 36 rounds. If you go down here a little bit, I have another one. It's kind of a variation where I maybe overfit it a little bit. I shared it on the show on Monday. And this is the thing I'm kind of weighing the most this week. This is last 9 months, basically ruling out anything long course-wise, anything difficult scoring-wise, or anything strong field-wise. It's basically just what is shorter, easy, weaker fields, last 9 months, and Michael Kim's on top.
Damn it. All right. 6 deep on the card. I'll let you talk me into 2. I bet this guy a lot. It's one of those where it's not good process. I hate to even say this out loud, but I'd feel horrid if he won and I didn't have him, because I have bet him for quite a few.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we talked about him last week and you brought him up, and then I got into looking at it a little bit more and I was like, man, so I didn't bet him outright, but I did get into some finishing position stuff, and you wanted to go way off the board from a one and done standpoint. And he was like, 10 guys had him. He was like sub 0.3% owned. So it's kind of what I was trying to do. He just didn't land the plane all the way, but he was definitely in the mix. So going back here like this, obviously the vibes are high. And I think this little subset, like if you're just looking at one stat this week, it's kind of this group here. Like this is guys, if you're just kind of pulling out anything long, difficult, or strong fields, these are kind of your best of the bunch here. So this is kind of something that I'm focused in on, and it gets a quarter of the weight of my model this week. So yeah, that's it. So for me, Denny, Thor, Michael Kim, and Nico are my 4 guys. So keeping it fairly tight, but all in the 30 to 60 range.
You ever play someone because you almost played them the week before?
Yes.
And they did well like that. So that's where I'm at with Chris Kirk. So almost played him, looked at him, didn't make the card. Was going to be way mad if he beat my guy. Obviously at a different number, but still. 38.50 this week. I'm going to play him. Michael Kim, talked me into him, 50. I found a 50 still. Nice. Echeverria, 63.50 at Chris, which is playable. Cam Champ, 77-1. That's silly. He's got win equity, guys. He's won on a similar course.
True.
How many is that? That's 4. Oh yeah, we're going 8 deep then. I said Vic Perez.
Mhm.
Somebody I've backed a couple times now. 90-1. Doug Gim. Doug Gim is down to what's my best Gim?
Doug Gim cannot make enough putts to win this golf tournament.
So Doug Gim is 100-1 though.
Hey, you liked Homa last week at 130. You're gonna love him this week at 110 in this field.
Yeah. I don't know if I can do Homa again. I'd rather take a punt on Gim at 100. There's some big differences. Here's a funny thing. Doug Gim is 60-1 at Chris and 100-1 at Bovada, which is usually there's not a spread that big. 80 at Bet Online. So weird spread on him, but I will obviously that's why you price shop. If he won at 60-1 and he was 100-1 at another book you had, you'd feel stupid. And then my deep shots. I got to bet Carson Young because he's number 1 in the model that we pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
That would hurt, and he's 150-1, so you don't need to put a lot of money on him. So Carson Young, $150, and a guy who played kind of well last week. I'm gonna have you guess on this one. It's over 150-1. He is a Mississippi Ole Miss golfer.
Played well last week.
Played well last week.
Okay. Over 150. Let me see.
Yep.
Who played well last week that is in this range? Ole Miss. Is Chad Ramey Ole Miss?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. You got me going deep. I don't know who you got.
Jackson Suber.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Should have had that.
Hotty toddy. Let's go.
Yeah.
Played well enough for
you did.
times.
Putting's good. He was
the putting's good. And 176-1. So another one where I don't need to put, very much money on him.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Because ask me how much I bet on Pot Eater last week.
$20.
Not enough. It's always not enough. Whenever you win, it's like, because when you're playing these long shots, like, all right, here's trying to put reasonable amounts on it because it's like, man, this guy's 100-1. We don't need to go nuts. And then when they hit, it's always never enough.
Yeah. Question in the chat that we can answer. Well,
filter.
We got a couple. Yeah. Josh is going Thursday. Any suggestions on anyone to follow around a little bit? Anything you should be looking for course wise? Just have fun. Find a good spot where there's some shade where you can plant up and, watch some, approach shots and putts on one hole and, some tee offs. And from a handicapping standpoint, there's another thing we actually touched on Monday's show. It's really hard. It's hard to watch, get a sense of how someone's playing based off of a range session or a practice round. We don't know the intent once play actually starts on Thursday. I don't think you're going to glean much that's going to help you in terms of handicapping, right? Except body language, maybe. You can see some guys start running hot and you want to come back at them in a matchup on a Friday or something like that. But, any thoughts that, from your time hanging around golf courses?
If there's a young or up and coming player you like, go follow them because they're going to have a small group. It's going to be like their girlfriend, their parents, and like 4 people that just happen to be on that hole that wanted to walk along. Like I've done that where there's nobody with some of these small groups.
Yeah, because, go watch Jackson Coyven. I'd go watch Jackson Coyven, and then in a couple of years when he ends up being top 10 in the world, you're gonna be like, hey, I hung out with him all day on Thursday at John Deere back in 2025. No one was there. High-fived him, like, whatever. Like that's no one's gonna be watching that kid, and he could be awesome.
Yeah, and they'll do autographs after the round too if you follow them for the last little bit of it. Especially if you bring a kid, then you're definitely getting autographs. It's so easy to have them sign for a kid. I always have the damn media thing that says I'm not allowed.
Oh, this speaks to my heart. So
a lot of people are gonna be following Homa, Sungjae. So find a fun smaller group.
So it became a thing on my golf trip, my annual golf trip, when I started, bringing Uncrustables, which is, again, the exceptional elite on-course golf snack, because they start frozen, so you can put them in your bag, and they slowly will, get to like room temp where you can eat them. You get a little protein in there with the peanut butter. You get a little sugar boost with jelly, carbs with the bread. Absolutely elite on-course snack. It's kind of feels like it's taken off. You see a lot of NFL teams eating their Uncrustables.
People are catching on to this.
So Thor here eating an Uncrustable last year. Fantastic. I got, multiple people mocking me when I first started, and now on my golf trip, it's a thing. We get there before your first round. We got to go to the local grocery store. Last year,
you got to get the massive one from Costco.
Yeah. Well, last year I bought some and put them. I got them real cold, stacked them in my bag, so I had them ready to go because we didn't have time to go to the grocery store first. So, yeah, elite. So, Josh is also asking, any players that play well in extreme heat? Oh, you picked the right spot. We have a heat filter in the rabbit hole, guys. You might not even know this. We do. Not even joking. You can go filter by condition. You can go all the way down. New one that just popped in. You have T times AM, PM, which you can split right here. Temperature. You'll prefer lies, which we had last week.
Preferred lies is a fun one to look at. Who does play well when they can pick it up and clean it.
Hot though, 86 plus. Let's back out sample wise. See if we get anything here.
Yeah, we got to look at more than 6 months. I would think. Probably. I don't know. Maybe it was hot in Hawaii.
It's, don't get a lot of 86 plus, but I guess we get a decent amount.
We do this week. Jesus, it's been hot here. Yeah. God, maybe this is the Pearson Cooties team.
This is why the Texas kid. Let's see. When you flip it to average, let's see where he's at. Okay, small for Trevor. Pearson Cootie, Chan Kim, Rio Sasune.
McCarty just keeps popping up.
This is my point. Last week I played McCarty at 150. He played well. Sitting out this week feels like a mistake. Norlander, Block Eater, Meisner, Bud Cauley.
Your boy Bud Cauley. I think the card needs to get a little bigger.
I wanted Bud Cauley on the card. The number is just
embarrassing. Like it's finally there's this cycle for players like him where everyone's like, man, this kid's playing so good, and his number is like 90-1 this week. I'm gonna have to bet him again. And after a while, the numbers just disappears. Eventually, if you play good golf but never get the win, it's the worst thing for the bankroll. It's like, hey, I was right. This guy played better than expectation. I didn't make any money off it. Unless you are the kind of person who's putting a bunch of T20, T40s on some of these big numbers too, and you're catching them at the right time. You ride with a guy like Bud Cauley. He doesn't win anything. You were correct, but you end up just pissing away money. And now his number is mashed.
Here we are. Yeah. So it's interesting, I guess. I mean, still, I would call this a small sample for most of these guys. Lee Hodges, another one. Last week I was on Lee Hodges, played okay.
Well, this is a fun one to flip. Like, is there somebody with a big sample who just sucked ass in the heat?
Let's see.
A lot of small.
Yeah, let's see. Let's put a minimum rounds. Let's just say 12 and see who we get. Right? It could be just, sucky golfers, but you want to see. These guys are all awesome. They're professionals, but Higo?
Yo, what? Oh, no, that's wrong.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Kevin Kisner just sucks. I mean, that makes sense. Jason D.
Yeah.
Oh, these are samples. These are sizable samples. Bridgman.
Mm-hmm. Max. Vicky Perez.
Oh, no, Vic. Oh, man, my week's over.
And you didn't look at the heat splits.
I didn't look at the heat index. It's not the heat, it's the humidity.
So, yeah, that's, not great, but a good way to.
Probably not the end-all, be-all, guys, but it's a fun one to look at for sure.
Hey, Colombian Nico Echeverria. That's looking good. He's in the mix.
Is it hot in Colombia?
I think it's probably hot in Colombia.
Is the bonita a big fish?
So, yeah, we do have it. So it's a great question. We haven't shared it before. Partially because applications have been fewer far between, but I think this is a good week to do so. And here we are. It's strokes gained, temperature hot, and Pearson Coody is your king. Short king summer in the Quad Cities. So Texas boy. And look, the putter's really hot. This is one of those guys too who are like, no one bet Pearson Coody because for some reason the books opened a bit 20-1 or like, 25-1 in some spots. And then all of a sudden he pops. He has a great week. No one's on it because, people would have maybe considered him at 60. No one was taking the shot at 30. And here we are. So, find some Pearson Coody in your DFS lineups or something, because there are some signs that seems to be, pointing to him.
Yeah. If you like to get real weird and, try to moonshot DFS, this is just another good week. I mean, you've seen some of the lineups that did well last week. Look at some of the names at the top of the leaderboard, or even in the top 20. Like, you can get real unique where, bigger player pool is what I'm saying. Big player pool, tons of names, tons of guys way down the board. And you can probably avoid a lot of the, the big price guys anyway. Like, pick one or two that you think can actually play well and then just get real cheap from there. And I'm talking like $47,000 lineups, like cheap lineups where you're leaving money on the table and getting super unique because there's so many guys that are 6,000-7,000 that can probably play well here.
Yeah, like discounted chalk, I would stay away from, right? Like, your chalk sub 8K would probably be a good week to avoid some of that. Any one and done thoughts, or also want to give you a chance to have any Patty Reed thoughts before we take off after he tried to give away Live Dallas, but held on.
So, I mean, that's the thing. Like, Patrick Reed there's a dichotomy of, I don't actually think other golfers like him.
That's correct.
Which is correct. But also, like, he's a very good team player over the course of his career. And yes, he had a swoon, but his overall golf was swooning at that point too. And that happens. Whereas he would be better on this team than some of the other names being bandied around for the 9 through 12 spots for the U.S. team.
I think the discussion we had around Keegan as a playing captain in terms of like, what's the weight of the captaincy? I think it's the other side of it is how much do vibes in the team room matter, right? We talked about the role of the captain. Can that be overstated? Or the vibes overstated? Because look, this guy really had no problem getting the microphone immediately after Paris and blowing up Furyk and all the things that happened in Paris. And it's just not super well received. And it just has a tendency of doing this. He was not part of that group that met for dinner months ago.
No.
There were like 25 guys that were a part of that. There were live guys that came to that. He was not included.
Yeah, I don't think he's making. Like, I think it's a 10% chance, and that's predicated on him, being in the final groups at the Open. And it'd be like, Frice, this guy's playing so good right now. Am I really gonna take Maverick McNeely over a guy that is going toe-to-toe with Rory at the fucking Open? Like, then there has to be considerations. Like, winning a live event is one thing. You still have to play good golf, but I'm just at the point where if I'm putting out my Sunday lineup and it is like, I don't know who's 12 for Europe.
Well, I don't know. It could be Aaron Rye. Could be one of the Højgaards. Yeah.
Like, what is it? Are we putting? God, I mean, who's in consideration for that spot? Like, are we talking Cantlay, Harmon, Glover? Oh,
Glover's
man.
not a consideration.
No. I'm just looking at guys who are in that range. He's ahead of like Wyndham Clark and Spieth as far as points. That's where we're at.
You can't put him on instead of Spieth. Your only play is that Spieth would be an acceptable playing partner because that was part of his frustration in Paris is that he didn't get paired with Spieth. And he thought he should because they've had some success previously. So
yeah, and I'm at a point too where Colin Morikawa is 7th in the points. I'm fine leaving him home.
He's not staying home.
I know, but like that's what sucks. Like conventional wisdom and like real world is saying you can't leave him home. How in the world would you bring him if you weren't looking at points and if you were just going to watch golf for the last 2 months and make a decision without looking at any sort of points or previous form? In what world is Colin Morikawa on a Ryder Cup team? It's been fair. The lows are so low.
His stuff is better than a Cantley.
I'm not giving him any putts if I'm playing against him.
Yeah,
no, for sure. That's what the answer is. Why is Colin Morikawa going? Well, because it doesn't matter how low the lows have been. What are you doing? You sticking Tom Hoge in instead? What's the other option? We're taking Boccia, Akshay. You're taking Joe Highsmith. What are you replacing with? So you're right. Morikawa's on the team, but Jesus, I'm not confident.
The U.S. struggles are that the guys that we thought maybe could emerge between last time and now have not, and some of them have regressed. Max Homa was probably the best U.S. player last time out, will not be on the team, right? Even at the President's Cup, we didn't get much from Thigala. Thigala injured terrible before the injury. Nick Dunlap wins twice before turning 21, and we think, okay, there's an ascension here with Nick Dunlap. Maybe something can happen here. Lost, right? Completely yips off the tee, cannot figure it out, right? So some of the young Americans that you thought could step into those Højgaard roles and take, kind of the back end as they move in. When they took Scotty, right? When they took Scotty, that was surprising at the times at Whistling Straits, right?
It's crazy.
Right? He was the last guy in.
It wasn't that long ago.
No, it was the last guy in. He beat Rahm in singles on Sunday, and they were like, wow, what a massive win. And it's well, now he's actually by far the best player in the world. So
yeah,
we just didn't have one of those guys. We thought we might have a choice of a couple of them, and that did not happen. So, it's, again, still plus money on Euros, still out there. So I'd like to continue to point out.
Yeah, so Spawn and Henley are in because of points. It's just.
I think Ben Griffin's in too. I think Ben Griffin's done way too much to not.
Here's what I'm saying: Morikawa, Ben Griffin, Cantlay, Burns. Is that
Spieth's on the team unless this injury is lingering bad? I think he's on the team.
Spieth. So you're at 5. It only leaves one spot, and then you're at what? Keegan, Harris, English, McNeely, Harmon, Novak, Young, Finau, McCarthy.
Yeah, Brooks.
That's what I'm saying.
It would have been nice to see if he would not have fallen apart there in Dallas. But Brooksy shows up a little bit there and then plays well at the Open. All of a sudden, he's that discussion's happening again, right?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Keegan, are you going to pick yourself or are you going to pick Patrick Reed? Patrick Reed is going to have a hard time making this team.
He's going to have a hard time making the team. Yeah. So, all right, buddy. That's all I got. Enjoy the 4th.
Yeah, enjoy it. Stay safe if you're fucking around with fireworks at home, guys. You want to have you want to have 10 digits. And hopefully your outrights net you 4 to 5 digits this weekend as well, guys.
Ooh,
best of luck on the betting. Enjoy the grill, enjoy the drinks, enjoy the holiday. If you're not from America, you can celebrate anyway. We don't care. Do something for the 4th. Your neighbors are like, oh, what's this daft bloke doing over here? I'm celebrating the 4th because I have friends in America. Sorry, geezer. I didn't even do a British accent for it. I suppose of all the countries that are not us to celebrate the 4th, Britain would be the weirdest one. Maybe a French person could. You guys helped us out. I saw the Patriot when the French boats show up and Lafayette's like, I told you, hey, look at us. Thank you, France, for that. And thank you to any Europeans for winning the Ryder Cup, because I think I'm going back to more plus 140 today. Just keep adding to that position. See you guys.